Hello and welcome to The Gray Area. I bring you a brand new podcast focusing on all those things that are kind of in the middle. They're not black, they're not white, they're gray. And it just gives me a space to discuss the things that are on my mind with people that I think I can click. So this is not really about interviewing people or getting questions and answers. It's more of finding like-minded people to discuss somewhat maybe controversial issues or issues that and topics that are kind of in the gray area. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at BAMP. Are your finances stressing you out? Are you unsure if you're making the right decisions for your future? Enter the Become a Money Pro course. Taught by the financial advisor and certified financial planner, Jacob Halberstam, this course goes through all finance topics you need to know to set you up like the wealthy. Use promo code GRAY75 for $75 off your purchase for a limited time. Get your finances on the right path and stop stressing about money. Click the link in the show notes for more. Again, use promo code GRAY75 for $75 off. Very excited to announce our first guest. Our guest is Nachi Gordon from Meaningful Minute. And Nachi does lots of meaningful stuff. And the reason why I wanted to bring Nachi on for episode 1 is because Nachi has so many meaningful interactions with his own guests that I thought we can kind of figure some things out together and get some answers on a number of different issues. We had a really, really nice discussion, and I look forward to sharing that with you. You're looking very pretty this morning. Did you shave?
Last week I think. I don't know. I shaved on Friday maybe.
Yeah, you're doing
Thank
it
you.
once a month now?
As when I'm not lazy, I guess.
Should we start with how often do you shave? At what age do you start shaving, or is that weird?
It's your show, man. Whatever you want. I don't remember what age, honestly. And in terms of often, it's probably once a week or maybe
Wow.
once every other week, depending on if I have to be somewhere or on camera or anything. So that's what it depends on, really.
Yeah, same here. Although when I let it grow, I never really fully shave. I have like a very low trim. But when I let it
Mhm.
grow, that's when I get all kinds of feedback. So
Like good feedback,
all kinds of feedback. It's great.
I
Like
guess.
the last week, I walked into the Taurus of Victor office, which my brother runs, and we do a podcast together. Now it's 6. We're gonna record the sixth episode this week. Well, thanks for coming on, Nachi.
My
Um,
pleasure. Happy to be here.
Welcome, Nachi Gordon. I'm going to try not to look at my phone the entire episode. How about that?
Good luck. I'll try the same.
Nachi's the host of Meaningful Minute. Is that what
Meaningful
you're?
Meaningful People podcast, founder of Meaningful Minute. Two different things, but one family.
How many podcasts have you done as a guest?
Um a few, maybe like a handful.
That's
Not too
it.
many.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, not too many, but a few.
The truth is, I miss sold this thing because it's not really a guest host type of situation. I never like that. I think it's just a conversation with people to try to when you have a really good conversation,
For
there's some
sure.
gold in there, some gold nuggets that we try to extract. Oh, I just broke it. I just looked at my phone. Um, okay, so you've only done a few podcasts, so that's interesting. So people don't know a lot about you, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's I guess so. I do record a podcast, so whatever I say in there people pick up and might learn a little bit about me. I was in Ami magazine, so I guess people know from there as well.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Does anybody? do people really ever know
No,
the people they think they know, right? Like,
only your wife and kids really
yeah,
know you. When I heard you on the headlines podcast,
yeah.
and the guy was like playing hardball with you, and he's a great guy, Tom,
Hmm.
awesome. But you really fought back. Um, well, you stood your ground,
Of course.
which was
What?
very, very nice to hear. Um, there's this perception of just like, you're just being there, you're just out there, you're just a nice face to interview, inspirational people, and and then I see the real you, and I like that. I was like, okay, this guy is hardcore, very good. So what I'm saying is though that you're at the beginning of this very big um, inspirational thing where because it's inspiration, right? That's the name of the game, right? Like what's
I
the
wouldn't even say so. I wouldn't say inspiration is the name of the game. I think the name of the game is having people feel something, right?
Mhm.
We're very focused on teaching people, right? And it's very important. We teach people Torah, we teach people Daf Yomi, we teach people Chumash, we teach people Rashi, we teach people Navi, whatever it is. So the name of my game is not as much education as it is making people feel something. Because I think that in 20 years from now, people may not remember what they were taught, but they'll remember how they were felt, how they were made to be felt. So that's important, and that's what we try to do with all the content we put out is make people feel something. If it's with our podcasting, well, specifically with our social media content on Instagram or TikTok, wherever it is, we want to be putting out content that elicits feeling, emotion, um, not necessarily inspiration, not necessarily. Maybe I would say it started out that way, and a lot of the messages are inspirational.
Is it is
But
it is it more meaning and impact?
what do you say? Is it more meaning or impact or an
And
impact?
yeah, is it like maybe it's meaning with or impacting with meaningful content?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all have busy days and busy at work, busy with family, and if we could, have a few minutes here and there of something that actually makes you feel something and speaks to you, I think that's crucial, especially what's going on in the world right now. We look at our objective to make people actually connect to what's going on in Israel, not just read the news and know the number of casualties and know what exactly is going on, but to feel. I'm sure you've felt in your life. You've listened to a song or you've watched a video that made you feel something, right? And you remember it. So that's our goal is to make people feel something, and when they feel that, hopefully they understand where it's coming from and what they're feeling and who it brings them closer to.
So I'm gonna cut the whole like enemy of inspiration because it was a little circly. Um, I guess my question is this: uh, meaningful content. It's hard to gauge. It's almost like you're an artist, right? Like a musical artist, and you're just putting out music. But it's almost harder to gauge like success. In other words, you started a few years ago, right? How many
Yeah,
years? How
I
many years
mean,
have you been?
everything started, like besides the podcast is probably 3 years old. Meaningful Minute in general started in 2017, so I guess
Wow.
that's six years ago.
Okay. So 6 years, 6 years ago, like what's the what's in like what happens in 10 years from now?
I couldn't tell you what happens in 10 days from now, Joel. I have no idea. I have no idea what happens in 10 years from now. I would say hopefully our operations increase, the amount of people we're reaching increase, and it's no way for I can't tell the future. I could just try to do what I'm doing now every single day, and hopefully that leads to something bigger and better. Um, but I try to just, live in the moment and live in the day, and take care of the tasks that are in front of me. Obviously, the goal is growth. If we're reaching 1 million people now a week, we want to reach 3 million. We want to reach 10 million. That the goal is reaching as many people as possible around the world with meaningful Jewish content.
That's an interesting question. I didn't think about any of this before we started recording.
I do this. I do the same a lot. I don't really. When I speak to people, because listen, the way I see interviews is that it's like super. It's like a very natural thing. You're just talking to somebody. You're trying to get to know them better. You're trying to just have a conversation. Do you prepare? When you go to shul, do you prepare what you're going to say to the guy behind you? No, you just
In
talk.
shul, I do. In shul, it's
You,
yeah,
you
a lot
prepare.
of pressure. Yeah,
You prepare
sports
talking
chat,
talking points.
my account, like how much money's in my account, whatever
Oh
people
yeah.
ask me. No, I try not to talk in shul. Um, and yeah, no, I get your point. Yeah, I'm a little
what
antisocial actually.
what's your background? Where are you
Oh,
from?
interesting. I'm from Brooklyn, from Seagate.
Nice.
Seagate was kind of like the original Tom's River. So
Okay.
so you had like a little bit of diversity. So I grew up Hasidish, but because it was Tom's River, Hasidish was a little different. I think you can get that. Um, and then yeah, I went to Litvish schools. So um,
Did you have like the whole lavush?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I still wear a shtreimel.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah,
So you grew up near like Yossi Green, MBD.
yeah. That was like it was like the mini like Jewish Hollywood. Also, I guess in those times you didn't have social media when I grew up, right?
Right.
And you didn't have like the constant event circuit, like every wealthy guy hiring, Ishe Rebo every night. Like you didn't get FaceTime with these people. So um, I would have friends that would come to me just, for Shabbos, just so they can like see MBD, in
That's
person.
funny. Wow. What's the deal with Seagate though? Like, why is it a gated community?
So it was a really nice community like 100 years ago or more, maybe 200, who knows. And later, um, the government built projects in Coney Island, and I think that's when they put a gate up,
Oh, for real? That's what happened?
something like that.
I've been to
Uh,
Seagate once, and I just like found it super interesting. Like, I have never seen this. It looks like a almost like an army base where you have to like
yeah,
have access. It was odd.
it's a little weird. It's a weird place. Never really took off.
Now, how
For
many
the
families are in Seagate?
At this point, it's like it's dwindling. I wouldn't even know, maybe 150.
Oh wow.
Uh, its heyday was kind of like in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. That it was booming. It was a nice community. Anyone that kind of wanted to leave, Brooklyn proper, moved to Seagate. It was kind of like Tom's River in that sense. It's a lot of reject.
I feel you.
I live in
100%.
Tom's River, so I can say it, but
Yeah, I was gonna say like you're about to get canceled unless you live in
yeah,
Tom's River.
yeah, exactly. So no, you get my point though, right? With inspiration, you're kind of like putting out songs, and you're early on in your music career, and if I ask you like what happens in 20 years, well, just bigger and better, but there's no there's no like dream, right? There's no picture.
It's hard because like if I was like let's say I was a young guy getting into the music field, I'd say okay, my ceiling or um my role model, my aspiration is Avram Fried or MBD. Like that's the ceiling. That's what I want to become. I'm chasing that. The field that I'm in, it's like there's no like who's done this before. Like who am I trying to look at and say, oh well, that's what I want to be in 20 years, right? Because it's not like, oh, I'm a public speaker, so although I do some public speaking, but I'm not like primarily public speaker. I'm not primarily only a podcaster, although I do that. But I have like I'm running this movement, so it's kind of unique where there's no precedent like, oh well, this person did it 10 years before me, so I go ahead and I want to follow that path. And that's been the greatest blessing and the greatest I think the greatest key to success is that there has been no path, and it's sort of just like we're paving our own path, and we could take it whichever way we see fit. Um, we're not trying to fit into a certain mold, and that's why I feel comfortable going on a program like Headlines or writing an op-ed in Mishpacha and being strong on opinions because like this is me, like this is what I'm passionate about. And
What did you write in the mishpacha?
I wrote an op-ed in Mishpacha, so I got in a little bit of trouble for. I'll dance around it a little bit, but I wrote an op-ed in Mishpacha
This
about.
is just to frame this. This is the gray area. Here's where like semi-controversial is allowed
Yeah,
to
it's trouble free
make
zone. I won't get in trouble.
by who?
It's true. By who?
No one's gonna watch this.
We'll see about that. But I wrote an op-ed about basically the culture of our from Jewish news media outlets
Ooh.
posting images and videos of just gruesome content, whether it's a Jew being killed in a terrorist attack and just posting their body on the floor, even if it's covered with blood. Like it's like tens of thousands of people need to see that. The cousins need to see that. Like they don't need to see that. It desensitizes death. It desensitizes really everything. So I wrote an op-ed about that. It was around the time that there was some attacks happening in Israel, and there was images that went out that shouldn't have happened, and maybe it was also post Mayron where it's Lag BaOmer and we're all celebrating, and all of a sudden we just see images of body bags, and people don't even know. People have kids there, and they don't even know. Um, they're not even reaching their kid yet, and it's just an extremely unhealthy thing. And in the non-Jewish world, there are rules and regulations that news companies need to abide by. They can't just post anything on TV. Like there's the FCC. Like there's certain things that don't fly, and we should have regulations as well. Now I know many websites have it that they make sure that they're not posting anything until families informed. Like I know, people have those policies. Um, but I think the content that we put out is extremely important because it's impressionable and kids are looking and adults are looking, and it could have a very, very negative effect. And we need to be very careful about that, of what our output is. And that's what the op-ed was about.
Yeah, I would probably write it even more aggressively.
Right. So I like,
It ticks me off. I actually sent like a blast. I don't want to call it spam because it's not spam. A WhatsApp blast to the founder of one of the ad networks, saying stop showing us like half dead babies on 17 pipes. It's despicable. And their response was, well, blah blah blah, we don't filter. I'm like, yes, you do. You don't allow adult content. Can I send you an adult ad right now? Will you post it? Oh,
right.
so like the um, I would say that most WhatsApp status things are just run by, and these Jewish media, they're just run by people who don't even care. So,
Well, I think it's very. I think I would take it a step further and say it's calculated. Like this is what gets clicks.
yeah, well, obviously,
Unfortunately,
I mean,
extremism sells, and people have advertisers, and we can't stand on the grave of people who have passed away in tragedies to post an ad for a Pesach program. It just isn't. It's not respectful. It isn't nice. So like, let's not take advantage of, oh, this terrible tragedy happened. Um, now let's slap it up with nice ads. Like, be respectful. That's all I'm
it's funny
saying.
that you say that because people that will watch this from my network, from my WhatsApp status, I've started a Jewish business status, and my partner kind of just faded away. But our entire mission was to get rid of the gore and the ugly and train crashes in Islamabad, Pakistan that killed 200. Nobody needs to see it, even if you go by the Chabad thing that everything is in the Parsha and everything is you meant to see. It's all a Musar lesson. I'll take my Musar somewhere else. I don't need to see mangled Indian bodies. So I very, very much agree with you. I mean, even now, this morning I saw one of the kidnapped girls returning to school.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is wrong? I'm sorry to say this. I'll say it anyway. What is wrong with these parents and grandparents? Like, why? Who needs to see that? It's private. It's
I
intensely
hear.
private. It's not a national thing. This is a little girl. It's her life. She's hugging her friends and her teachers. I think it's really really private. Certainly the ones where they're returning and they're running into their family's arms certainly should be private. The look, we are a voyeuristic. Humans are voyeuristic. We like seeing things that we shouldn't.
Right. I
And
think that those things are I would say at least they're positive. And it's a preference. It's a personal decision of like, does this family want this to be a private moment? And you might say, yeah, they should want it to be. If they don't, does it
it's
get people to
it's
cry?
almost.
And it does. I think people
I mean,
do
I would say
appreciate
that it's.
seeing that.
I would say it's almost not even fully um, their decision. Like it's a national thing, in a sense. I posted about this, and every single comment was fully agree with you. I posted about the families reuniting, like that should be private. It's intensely intimate, and I must have gotten like 15,000 views, and every single person was like, um, agree, 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 um, intensely. So I would say. So I mean, I yeah, the whole thing about, but that's really what the gray area is. Personal responsibility. Like you decide what news status you want to follow, and what news sites you want to go on. And look, society is very fragmented, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that's the way we are. We're living in a urban environment in cities across the world, and uh, micro communities. I'm in Tom's River. There's, I think, just on this side, there's something like 26 shuls just on one side. So everyone's got their rabbi, everyone's got their community, their leadership, and you just have to decide where you stand, and you just have to take a stand in your small little personal circle. Um, society is not going to solve your problems.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it. So, op-ed mishpacha is great because yeah, people will make decisions better if people know that other people feel the same way. That's when they start making decisions. Kind of like um, the Vayamayim
Yeah.
thing, where everyone's going through the same thing. Oh, now we can address it and make decisions. So it's always good to speak about this thing. Uh,
Yeah, no, and a lot of people I think that it did affect change. Like when after that, when tragedies would unfortunately happen, we would on Meaningful Minute we would post, um share the pain, not the image, something like that. Where like, um we wanted to create this culture where you just didn't pass around these images like it's baseball cards. Like this is you're literally sending out an image or a video of the worst moment of somebody's life, the destruction of somebody's world. Not even the person who Chas V'Shalom was killed, their family, and you're sending it around like hotcakes. Come on, we could do a lot better than that.
Amen to that. We can wrap the podcast up. That's it. Very impactful. People can walk away with, hey. I mean, I really got fired up with the whole rally thing, right? But so many people
Yeah,
have addressed it at this point, and I think my point is that it goes back to the fragmented community thing, where everyone's kind of got their path, and you have to respect as much as like drama like excites people. Like people always tell me, I have a pretty strong opinion on a lot of different things, and people
what's
tell
like your
me
strongest opinion? I want to see if I agree with you. What's like your strongest take?
it's very hard because I have an equally strong take on the reverse. So I don't really abide by my opinions. So someone
Okay.
tells me, when they tell me, Joel, I disagree with you on this, blah blah. I'm like, well, I probably disagree with me too. So get online.
Yeah.
For example, like I think the forced conscription in Israel, the Gezeras Giyus or whatever it's called, I think it's fake. I think it's baloney. I think there's no threat to yeshiva students. There hasn't been a threat in 30 years probably, and I think it's all hype. I think a lot of people just unfortunately, it's a cultural thing. Even important and special people are get caught up by it, and they have to take action, and organizations and committees have to be made. This, like, people really blasted me for. What do you mean? Our Rosh Yeshivas are saying, I'm like, it's fake. No one's drafting your yeshiva boy, and if they are, you'll leave Israel at some point. Like like what if they drafted us in America? Like, we'll figure it out. It's something like it's happened before, and it's not happening there. And then I wrote, like, the whole gezerah would have been canceled out if you were passing out donuts for the last 10 years. You know, eh, instead of the last whatever 6 8
Yeah,
weeks.
I probably disagree with you on that. What's your take on the rally?
It's more nuanced. I think on a personal level, like
Yeah,
me.
were you there?
So I was preparing for our conference,
Oh, right.
and
Okay.
which was the next day. So we have to be there afternoon, evening. Um, even if I was able to, if I had a private jet, then I'd go and come back, but impossible. And interesting that we were gonna do it on that day, and for some reason we moved it. We moved it to Wednesday. It was supposed to be Tuesday. We would have been probably would have been a disaster for us. But no, on a personal note, I think that every person should have gone, whoever is capable. Even conference isn't an excuse. Well, Jews are dying. Why are you preparing for a conference? But I guess people can maybe understand that. Um, I just don't take any militant views like you must be there or you're not allowed to go. And I think that's ridiculous. I think there's precedent for going out in the streets, and in the yeshiva world, there's precedent. I remember, like, I don't know, 15 years ago when everybody went down to Water Street from Mincha, which was the most asinine thing I've heard.
On
Was
Shabbos?
No, it wasn't Shabbos. It was like a protest, but they wouldn't call it a protest. So it was like a mincha on Water Street in New York
What
City. It
what's
was
Water
it was
Street?
yeah, that, like by Wall Street, that area.
Okay.
I think it was like in like 10, 15 years ago. And because all the boys are in danger, all the girls in Israel they're all in danger of being drafted into the army. Um, and I'm like, if you so my opinion kind of is like this, like, if you can go out on the streets and rally against the Israeli government, then you can rally in support of forget about the government, just in support of the Jewish people across the world that are being attacked, and a show of force, a show of, um, even if nothing else, than just empathy, so that people in Israel see we care. I think it's incredibly, incredibly important. Never mind Congress and the president and
Right.
all that pressure they're facing. So, like, the Rosh Hashiva who first wrote a letter saying you're a chassid shaita if you don't go, and I disagree with that too. Someone can have a
You
valid
just don't
reason.
like any you don't like any don't like any strong stances on either end.
I think
You're
you
not
have
you're
to.
not a fan of Kolkares. You're not a fan of
I'm not a fan of being judgmental, unless it's me that's being judgmental.
I hear you.
Right? Because I'm being judgmental too. So some might argue with that as well. But then again, I'm not a leader, right? I'm not perceived to be a leader, and I'm not actually leading anyone. And I think there's a fine line, right? That's why, um, they say about giving someone a musser, or Rabbi Victor Miller talks about, like, standing up to someone. You have to know who you are. The same words, but by different people everything is in context. So if you're a shiva telling people they're idiots if they don't go to the rally, never mind the next day you come out and say you're not allowed to go to the rally. I'm offended by both. Don't call me an idiot for not going. Maybe I don't want to march with pride flags. There were plenty of pride flags in the audience, so that could be a legitimate reason. Some people say, well, I'm not marching with them. They just happen to be there the same way they'll be anywhere.
Right.
Um, So I mean, there's right there's reasonable arguments to be made any which way on any subject, but you have to be reasonable, and you can't cancel people for having a different opinion than you.
Yeah, that is the thing nowadays. Cancel, right? Hopefully, it doesn't seep into the Jewish world. Maybe it did a little bit, but hopefully, it doesn't.
I think part of our strength is that we're the 12 tribes. In other words, that we're fragmented. We don't have there is not one community that we all have to belong to that dictates exactly how we think. A lot of people think that the fact that we listen to Das, Torah and our Chachamim means that you cannot have an opinion and you can't state your opinion. God gave us a mind, a brain, for a reason. Like you're
Yeah.
not meant to be a dummy robot. I think actually headlines cover this on the rally episode, which is a very worthy episode. You should listen to it. Um, uh, like, what are we supposed to be, dummies and just march along? I mean, obviously, if your Rav tells you to do something, you're supposed to do it. And even if he says it's black and you say it's not, fine, but white. But I guess that's the gray area. If he says it's black and you say it's white, you kind of meet somewhere in the middle. But like there is a lot of nuanced approaches where it says this, like you're supposed to follow, even if it's and then there are other things where you're allowed to argue with your Rav, and you're allowed to come to a different halachic opinion and perspective. So really, I think in Judaism, nothing is black and white, like nothing. Like
Yeah.
I'm named Yoel after the Satmar Rebbe. I didn't grow up Satmar. My family isn't Satmar, but I'm named. I guess a lot of people my age who are in Satmar were named Yoel because it was so momentous. This precedence for just being for there being just different. Like I learned in DAF, which I have to thank you for the DAF, and that's why I want to tell you that it's not just inspiration; it's
Oh,
impact.
you start with Rabbi Stefanski?
I started. Yeah, I'll get back to that. But really quickly, we I don't know, 2 Masechtas ago, wherever it was, the Gimel Shavuos that the Jews have with Hashem regarding entering Israel. Like I always thought it was like a Satmar thing. No, it's a Bayan Rava. So great, Satmar Rebbe had his shitas and everything, and there are other shitas. Like I'm not saying pick a side. I'm just saying there is precedent for everything, including arguing over different perspective and different philosophies, and you have to respect someone else. People do this on Shabbos. Other people don't do this on Shabbos. There's plenty of halachic reasoning on most issues. So you had Rabbi Stefanski on. It was Tisha B'Av when I watched it two
Okay.
2 years ago, and the thing I wonder how many people he got on just from that episode. I'm sure you've heard.
Yeah, I think he says a few hundred at least started learning the daf from that, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It is. I mean, I don't know. He was kind of pushing you. I don't know
Yeah,
if you did or
I
didn't.
I definitely started at that point. I've fallen off and
Yeah.
started since then a number of times. So I'm in between right now. So hopefully that means I'm starting again soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mindset, right? You don't have to be doing it. You, as long as your mindset is that you're doing it, you'll get back on, right? It's like
Right.
I'm very athletic. Well, do you work out? Well, not in the last 3 months, but I will, right? I
Right.
think it's a mindset. But when he said that he does not remember his learning, he said he literally doesn't remember it the next day.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sold. I'm joining, and I've been daily since then. So it's almost 2.5 years, and that's
Incredible.
thanks to you.
Wow. That's really special.
The
When
only
you told
problem
me.
was I started on Tisha B'Av because I was just
You started the one day that you're not supposed to start.
pretty
Wow,
much.
that's I
Yeah,
mean,
I only realized
listen,
that.
if
Yeah,
that's the only thing that may have asked that you go up to heaven with, and they say, "Well, you learned on Tisha B'Av," then I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's not the only thing.
I'm just saying, if it is, yeah, I think it'll be good.
So let me put it back on you. So, well, first of all, I want to go back to my point about the draft thing. Um, we see like the tremendous revolution happening in Israel, and I'm not even talking about mitzvahs and stuff. There's that obviously. That's very apparent. 200,000 pairs of tzitzis, thousands of pairs of tefillin, and it's just because um, people are coming together and breaking down the walls and respecting each other for who they are, and then working towards a common goal. Why it's happening is because we're all in danger of extinction, God forbid, right? But that's what brings these things out. Point is though that uh, there's a major sense of achdus, of togetherness, of unity, and and it is very, very doable. Um, Now, it's kind of the worst of times, but even in the best of times, there's no reason. I used to tell people who, people came to me for $1 in shul, the Israeli people. I'm like, only if you go back and hug an Israeli cop that you see, and it's, well, they hate us, they beat us. Yeah, but did you try hugging them? You know, uh, no one says no to a hug. So
They take your
there's a
dollar.
lot to be said about that. We're the best people in the world, no question, right? Hashem loves people that keep Torah and mitzvahs. At the same time, there's, in my opinion, there's room for improvement when it comes to this issue, and I think that people have these built-in ideologies that they can't get away from, and
I'm with you on that, 100%. We gotta be open minded
so
for sure.
what's your most extreme take that you wouldn't air maybe on your own? Would you say anything? Would you air everything on your own podcast, or is there anything that you would not air?
Well, my podcast is generally my job is to unpack my guests, life and message. I'm not trying to figure out, hey, can I stick my agenda in? Can I get my opinion in here and there? Has it happened? 100%. Is there something I wouldn't say on there that I would say on here? I don't know. I don't have any. I would say that the thing that comes to mind that I'm passionate about is sort of um, kids getting into schools and seminaries. Um, how I think it's a I would say
Do
it's
you have,
erroneous the way
do you have a gray,
our
do you have a
it's
gray
like
area take on that subject?
I think so. I don't know how gray it is. But I think that it can't continue the way it's continuing, where we just ship out rejection letters to people when it comes to seminary or high schools. We just say sorry, there's no can't take you, and it's like you can have girls out there that get rejected from 4 seminaries. Like, what do you want them to do? You have a kid who's coming out of 8th grade about to start high school. That's like an extremely crucial moment of life, and they have to see their parents struggling to find them a place to go. They're 13 years old. What do they do? Like, as a community, we can't figure out a better way to make sure that they're not casualties in this war. And I know that a lot of communities are doing a very good job of making sure that these kids get into schools, but at what cost along the way? Kids are not dumb. They know when they're being spoken about, like, oh, we have to find a place for this kid because Nabach, this kid, not as smart, doesn't look the part, whatever it may be. I think we need to be more sensitive. I think it causes a lot of issues down the road when a kid has to go through such rejection so early in life. It completely ruins their self esteem, completely destroys them, and we expect them to thrive in our shidduch system. And we broke them when they were 13 years old when we rejected them from 5 high schools because there was no room, or because their shoes were a different color. I don't know. We have to be we have to be very sensitive as a community, and think about each kid like they're our own child. And that's something I think about. I interviewed a girl. Her name was Rivka Shotkin, and she's on my podcast. She's paralyzed from the waist down in a skiing accident. And something she had mentioned in passing on the podcast is that she got rejected from several high schools, and then it came out that like she is a gem. She is incredible. She's just a really really special girl. And these very high schools that ended up rejecting her asked her to come speak to their students because she's so special. So like, how many of those do we miss? How many of those kids do we just say we can't take, but we're just missing out on the potential? And let's invest more. Let's invest more.
Yeah, I think the this is a very gray area topic. And even I've been invested in this for the last few years, and I've helped um, push my own school forward. Not my own school, but the school where I send my children to, my younger children to now. Um, and I have an eye on the school where I want to send my son to, who's 2 years old, and I just help them with their fundraiser because I feel like they're on the right track. Um, I think it all comes down to, unfortunately, it all comes down to personal responsibility again, like most issues. And you might find that a little, I don't know, maybe, it, okay, so I'm trying to do the Elon Musk pauses because it
Yeah,
makes you look brilliant.
those pauses are long.
Yeah, go yourself. That was crazy. But I mean, you imagine that the amount of frustration that like the guy just can't get it right. He is a little cooked with like conspiracy theories because he grew up that way. His father is nuts, and like he'll see like some conspiracy theories about Jews, and he'll like repost it. Like the guy doesn't mean anything. He's just a little.
Yeah.
He's got like like a little screw off there with the
Yeah, listen, and
conspiracy
anyone
stuff.
who's that brilliant usually is playing in a different stratosphere.
No, but it's not only that. It's he grew up with like a very very dark child. His father is like really dark, like crazy person into every single conspiracy under the sun. And I think that's where that part of it comes from. And the brilliance is a whole other thing. But that's like that component. Well, he'll repost something like the Jews control the banks without like meaning anything to him.
Right.
Unlike different people who actually have like hate and um, proper thought goes into it. But back to this subject. I mean, it's that's one of the outcomes, I guess, of not having unified communities. Like if you have a community like Far Rockaway, right, or the five towns where Rabbi Bender and Darchi Torah and he's praised by everyone, but um, it is more of a tight knit community, I would say, versus you go to Lakewood. There's in the last 20 years, like 40 different communities started up. Some opened their own schools, some didn't. Some private people opened schools. There's no direction, and it irks me when there's a new bug in a new thing of lettuce, and then suddenly every rabbi signs onto that letter, but they're nowhere to be found on this subject, at least not publicly. And everyone says, yeah, they do a lot of work behind the scenes, and that's like when you work with someone who on your team or a vendor or a contractor, and you're like, what's going on? Like, oh, behind the scenes. I'm like, nothing going on behind the scenes.
Mm.
You're not doing anything. You're not working.
Yeah.
Um,
Listen,
and
I'm
it's
not, I'm not super familiar with what goes on. I just go back to this quote I heard from Elie Wiesel, Nobel Peace Prize winner, famous Holocaust survivor. I think what he said was, silence never helps the victim. Silence always helps the oppressor. Um, I understand maybe there's work being done behind the scenes, but you know how like when we were in high school, they were told to, like, show your work. Like if you're doing a math equation, you have to show your work. I think it's important to show our work because it helps the people who are suffering to see that someone cares about them. That usually is half the battle.
Yeah, I mean it's very very challenging. Like I came up with a bunch of different solutions, very simple, very clear solutions. I'm not a billionaire, so if I publicize it, it's going to have zero impact, and I can only impact the five people that I'm closest to, hopefully, maybe. But there are very, very simple solutions, even in a place like Lakewood where it's crowded and there's no room, and legitimately so, there is no room, and it is crowded and it is fragmented, but there are some solutions, and even like you say, just information. Like, we're sorry, but we we don't have room this year because this is the situation. You get to appeal it, somehow. There's a lot of different things that we could do to show that we care. And the issue is there is no we. That's really the issue. There is no we. Um, a guy goes and opens a girls' school or a seminary. Who's he accountable to? No one. He's like, you don't like it, go start your own school. And in a sense, he's right, because it's his business, it's his school. Now, I wouldn't sleep at night if that was my business, rejecting parents and kids. But apparently, he's got a good bed. So
Mm.
what do? You have to be the change. Think about an organization like Misaskim or High Lifeline. These all came out of maybe personal needs, but they all started with just people saying, "I'm going to change something." And I think that anyone on this topic or any other topic that really really cares could be part of the change. Could.
100%. 100%. I think that people need to understand that like there's no them. Oh, they're gonna handle it. Let them take care of it. It's everybody. It's you, especially nowadays. Everybody has a voice, and everybody has the ability to impact change in a very very large way. There's no reason why you can't. I mean, like, what's going to be the high lifeline in 10 years from now? That person is in high school right now. What are they going to start? You know,
What are
it's
you
the
going to
way it
start?
is. What?
What are you starting?
I don't know.
You got
You
me on
know?
the duff. That's it. You accomplished the world already. And I got others on the duff, right? So
Yeah, it's a domino effect.
yeah, I would say that most of these things are, you can't even see, right? They're not visible. But so let me switch focus. Yeah, so I mean, it's a very nuanced topic. It's very challenging. Our leadership doesn't want to get involved. So what are you going to do, right? I know parents that send to a school where the principal is literally a psychopath. Okay, um, she insults the girls. It's just psychopath. So why aren't the parents not getting together and just hostile takeover? I don't
Well, I
know.
think also in a situation like that, every parent has the ability to switch their kids' school. Like,
Well, not
they're not
necessarily.
happy. Why
Not in a
not?
place. Yeah, not in a place like Lakewood. We
I'm not familiar.
yeah. It's hard enough. It's just hard to get into schools, and everyone wants to switch. And when everyone wants to switch out of a particular school, you know what happens? Oh, we can't take more than 3 girls from that school, and no one's accountable. But I would say that 90% of the onus is on the parents. Parents are sheeple. I mean, most people are sheeple. They just don't want to take action. They're afraid. They're very, very afraid. How many podcasts are there out there? Most people are afraid to do that, not because they don't
Millions.
like to. Right. You go to shul and suddenly everyone's got an opinion for you, right? Everyone's giving you feedback, right? Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Why don't they have their own podcasts? Because they're afraid. They're just afraid to go out there and speak their so-called truth. But after the fact, they're complaining and they're giving negative feedback. And I think that people really have to be accountable and take a bigger role. Forget about the evil parents. They're that cause all of this stuff. That call the principal and say, "Don't take that kid," and "Oh, this kid is from this family," and the image, and half of that is perception too, where the principals think that these parents won't want this kid, and the parents think that the principal. So a lot of it is perception as well. But ultimately, you have to be the change. If you want to do something, you could affect change.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with you. Like, um, I deal with that a lot where people have a lot of opinions, and there have been times where I've said stuff and people have agreed with me, but they won't agree publicly. Like they'll agree, but like don't tell anybody. Like, but that's I don't know. That is probably for a much larger discussion, a psychological analysis on why people are that other way. I don't know.
Who's your hero in the From world?
Alive or
Alive.
alive? Who's my hero in the From world alive?
Is there anyone you'd want to meet?
I would love to meet a lot of people. Um, who would I want to meet? I would like to meet Ben Shapiro.
Okay.
Just I've spoken to him. I've interviewed him. Never met
You have.
him.
You've
Yeah, I
interviewed.
never met him. I never met him in person. I've interviewed him. Like this.
Okay.
Um, I think I just want to meet him outside like it being cool. I want to say he's my hero. I think he's somebody that like he puts his life on the line for the values he has, which is amazing. He really has to have security 24/7 for standing up for what he believes is right, and he wears his yarmulke proudly, and I think that's special. Um, but I'm not. I don't know. My hero are my hero are people who are doing things outside their comfort zone. My hero is that family that made Aliyah with their kids and moved to Israel and did it, and they're making it work. Like, you know, that's heroic to me. That's special. Um, I think I value Arts Yisrael, and I saw an amazing ad this week for Nefesh B'Nefesh Mishpacha this week. It just said two words: it's shaykh. It's shaykh. And because a lot of people, a lot of times we speak about moving to Eretz Yisrael, we say, "Oh, it's not shaykh, it's not shaykh." Oh yeah, well, it is shaykh. And so yeah, the family that moves and makes it work, that's heroic. The person who is out there defending Jewish people and defending people who are defenseless, that's heroic. I wouldn't say there's one person that I say, "Oh, he's my hero." Um, that's my answer.
I like
I
that.
mean,
So it's not about the person. It's about the action.
which means that uh, any person who's listening to this could really be my hero.
I like that very much. You appreciate the action. So is it Ami or Mishpacha?
Is what Amir Mishpacha.
What's
My
what is it?
choice of reading.
Yankees or Mets? You know.
I'll tell you, it happens to be I do vary. I When I want more of like a hardcore news analysis, and I'm like in the mode of wanting to know news, I'm probably going Ami. But if I'm like, let's say around Yom Tov season, Elul, Tisha B'av, Hanukkah, probably Mishpacha for more of the Limudei Kodesh versus Limudei Chol. I think that there's things I like about both. There's columns I like in both, and there are many times where I do get both. I think they're both doing a great job, but that's just my that's my 2 cents.
Interesting. Is there anyone? I'm being a podcast tonight. See, I'm asking questions.
Yeah.
Finally, is there anyone that you would want to meet outside of the Jewish world, outside of the From world?
Hmm. Outside of the From world, anyone I would want to meet?
For you, it's easy, right? Because you have your roster of dream guests that you'd like to have.
Right. Right.
Well, I don't know if
Yeah.
you have certain. You can have any kind of guest as long as there's some kind of meaning there.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean,
Okay,
I,
so
I've
who's your dream
I
guest?
mean, not Jewish,
Non from.
not from. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's huh. It's such a tough question because I would say that I many times I've said like, and I've had, like I've had many of my dream guests. Um, I've had them. But whom and the answer to this question changes like every day. Like I'll wake up and be like, yeah, I'm into this right now. I like this. Um, maybe like I don't know, Bibi Netanyahu. I don't know. It's a weird answer. It's a weird answer, but like
Really,
uh,
BB? Wow.
I, the guy is he like first of all, who wants to be in that position right now? He is in the worst position ever. Really. Like he's such a tough position to be in.
Right.
And he's literally been probably the prime minister of Israel for most of my life over the different, terms that he's had.
Yeah.
Um and not to mention he's lost his brother Yoni Netanyahu. He lost him in Entebbe
Yeah.
in that battle. Um he also had some really, close closed door meetings with the Lubavitch Rebbe, and he's had some serious conversations. So not as even a figurehead political figure, but as someone that's been very very involved in Eretz Yisrael for a very long time. And Eretz Yisrael is our land. We are the chosen people, and that is our land. And he's somebody that, for better or for worse, has ruled there. And it might be the conversation would be me challenging him on a few things. It might be me agreeing with him on a few things and lobbying for a few things. But I think the future of the Jewish people is in Eretz Yisrael, and I think that that's the that's the person who's in power right now there.
That's a very interesting answer. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, neither did I.
Okay. Fair enough. Um, yeah, that's as much question answers that I can do. I'm not very good with the question answers. So unpacking Nachi, I guess you're really not about fluff at all. You must be very anti-fluff, actually, right?
Yeah, I think fluff is fluff. You know.
But you could come across like if someone doesn't know you and doesn't actually listen to a lot of your stuff, just seeing like meaningful this, it could appear a little fluffy. Do you care, or do you feel like your mission is strong and you're just doing your thing?
I think that for there's a lot of people out there, and many people need different things. So what me and you will call fluff, they might call marching orders. And my goal is to walk that line and make sure I'm creating content for all different types of people. So there are some people where they rely on that, what I would call fluff, and there are some people that need more of the stronger stuff, and we'll have that too. So um, I've learned that one person's opinion is one person's opinion. I get comments, every week on public comments, YouTube, podcasts, like hundreds every week. Some of them aren't super nice. Some of them are critical, and I have to remind myself like that's literally one person, and they didn't like it, and that's fine. You
What's
don't
the
have to please
most critical thing you've heard that you've actually said they're right? I'm gonna change that.
it. Um, one thing I've heard that I
Have you ever made a change based on like negative feedback that may have hurt you?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think that it's really podcasting, believe it or not, is a skill. And I think early on I was very trigger happy to just get involved and talk to the guests and try to. I think the feedback I got was like the the best thing you can do as a podcaster is not talk and listen, right? And like the most important thing that I'll ever say on the podcast is literally nothing. And just keep my mouth shut in that moment where the person is going, and not try to, it's really, it's like playing the pause. A musician who plays a beautiful song, if they're just going from note to note to note, even though they're supposed to be stopping at some point, song's going to sound jumbled. It's not going to sound right. The pause is there for a reason. I think as a podcaster, it's important to know that. And I think that's feedback I got early on, which is like, breathe, you know, talk, let them have a conversation, let them say their piece. It's about them. And I think I take that to heart. And I try to do that with all my guests. Try to sit there and say, hey, listen, I'm just trying to get to know more about them and to make them feel comfortable to unpack their message.
It's funny you say that because that's probably the number one piece of feedback this thing is going to get. Like, why are you talking so much, Joel?
Listen, I think that it's so underrated when it comes to podcasting. People will watch and they'll be like, "Oh, that's so easy. I would have asked this. I would have done that." But when you're in the moment, it's like it's tough. It's hard. You know, lights, camera, action. You're on it, and you're having this conversation, and you things are coming to mind, and you don't want to forget them. And it's just podcasting is not as easy as it looks, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, like everything else of impact, you know. I mean, there's podcasting and there's podcasting, and you're obviously doing a very good job. How many monthly, views do you get across all channels?
On just podcasts or everything?
Everything, like
Whew.
on your content.
Honestly, millions. I could
Yeah,
look. I know that right now, Instagram, we've been really popping off. Thank God. We have 168,000 followers there.
yeah, that's crazy.
No,
So you,
last 30 days, we reached 5 million people on Instagram alone. So that's just Instagram. But I know podcasting, we're probably monthly close to the 500,000 people a month.
wow.
So it's, yeah.
So I mean,
Rough.
so you're doing a great job at something that obviously is challenging to do because not many do it.
Listen, I didn't go to school for this. I just, in a way fell in my lap. I was open to it, and you got to be open to learning on the fly. And I've pivoted more times than I can remember.
Does it
Like,
hurt you when people say you got lucky?
no, I definitely did.
You feel like you got
I
lucky?
wouldn't call it luck. I would call it blessed. You
Well,
know,
let me rephrase that, because I know how hard it is to execute anything, um, anything that of impact is hard
yeah,
to execute by nature. Otherwise, it would not be impactful. Um, Obviously, it's a massive project that you've got going on. It's not just, hey, I'll turn a mic on, I'll just speak to someone, and I'll put it out there. There's a lot of that happens in the background. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of structure, even when it appears that it's unstructured. And people might say, "Oh, right place, right time." You open a Jewish, From podcast, and it just blew up. Um, or does that not happen? Was I the first one that said
that happens. It happens, and it doesn't bother me at all. I'm extremely blessed. I wouldn't call it luck. I would say Hashem put me in this amazing position to succeed. And if somebody wants to say that it's nothing due to my skills and it's all luck, then great. Kol hakavod. It doesn't. Yeah, I am extremely. Um, Again, I'll insert a different word for luck because I don't believe in luck. I believe in everything is pretty divine. But if someone wants to say that Hashem did everything for me, I'd say absolutely he
Oh,
did.
I see. So you're twisting it.
I'm not
Twisting
twisting
that.
it. Like, what's luck? Tell me, what is luck?
Well, people. I saw a quote. I don't know, a couple years back, and it really resonated. And it said something like, "When I make it, don't you dare tell me that I got lucky." And with me, like, it resonates because I work my tail off. I work very, very hard to do certain things that a lot of it may seem, hey, oh, you got lucky. Oh, Palooza, you got 4,000 people. Oh, that was luck. And I just want to punch you in the face for
That
saying
bothers
it.
you? That bothers you?
Yeah, it bothers me tremendously. It bothers me because I sacrifice, right? Um, Anyone that does anything really sacrifices.
But what
Um,
is that? What is that person saying that bother you? Like, so they
I
don't
guess
know.
it minimizes my hard work.
But if they came over to you, like you know what they said isn't true, right? It's not luck, right? if someone came over to you and said, "By the way, you're an alien," what would you say?
I'd be infuriated because it minimizes my specious
So maybe just be
philosophy.
infuriated no matter what. But I would be like, I'm not an alien. It doesn't really bother me that you
Of
said that because
course,
it's not
of
accurate.
course.
So if somebody wants to come and make their and touch up what they think is the case, call it go out. Good for you.
So you have a very healthy self-esteem in terms of like your accomplishments and where you stand. You don't, you're not threatened by
I have my
mainstream.
I have my inner circle. I have people who I rely on for feedback that actually impacts in a strong way. If I relied on 4.5 million people to decide how I feel this morning, I would be like the stock market, up and down every 2 days, and it wouldn't be a good situation. You need to have your people that you rely on and that you filter that feedback through, and otherwise, I promise you, meaningful minute wouldn't exist. The meaningful people wouldn't exist if I relied on everybody's feedback. Because um, I bet that if I would have asked people before I started these things, should I start it? The answer would have been, I don't know if it's a good idea. You know, so that's my answer. It's a work in progress. It wasn't like this 6 years ago or 5 years ago. 4 years ago. There's a lot of people who do what I do. A lot of people who have looked at what I do and do exactly that. And they used to bother me, and it doesn't anymore. It doesn't.
So do you feel like I guess you go with, well, I don't know. I'm going to ask you this. Do you go more, you have a new idea, a new project. Do you kind of like gut instinct this this is going to work? And I know it's a little gray, but I have to throw in the word gray every now and
Yeah.
then until I change the name because of negative feedback. No. But do you feel like you go with your gut instinct? This is great. I'm going to do this no matter what. I know it's challenging. I know it might not make sense to some people. Or are you more of like a thought out, like let's talk and discuss it internally and like speak it out?
Listen, I think at this point, because of my position, I need to be thought out in a way. We could be investing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into projects. Needs to make sense. I am a big gut instinct guy, though. If I think that this is something that's important, and I want to do something in that area, then I'm gonna find a way to pursue it and make it make sense. I do rely heavily on my gut um, to make decisions.
Got it. Very good. Well, that's the podcast. We touched on three and a half topics,
I think,
and
yeah, we touched upon a lot.
I have absolutely no idea where this is going to go in terms of you know um, episode 2, 3, 4, 5, and what the plan
That's
is.
the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. You just kind of be like one of those sailboats. You put up the sails, and wherever the wind goes, you just go with it. And you put your stuff out there. You stay consistent, creating content, and you never know.
Yeah, I'm not a big content creator. I'm more of I. There's something on my chest. I want to get this out there, and then because I'm not big on social media. I don't do TikTok or Instagram or
Right.
I do LinkedIn because it's work related, and then WhatsApp is my go-to. But
Yeah.
you don't necessarily get that much visibility there, which is fine. Um, we didn't really close it up, so so Nachi, I appreciate you for coming on, and I hope it comes out right.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of like juicy bits in there that will have to be explored. Maybe guest two has to like
Yeah.
unpack guest one, and then guest three. If you made it to the end, I thank you for staying with me until the end. Thank you for listening. It's the first podcast. I really would appreciate any kind of feedback that I could ignore from you. No, I'm kidding. I'll take all feedback. I really will, and critique, and anything you have, throw it at me. If you have any ideas for new guests, if you'd like to see your company sponsor the podcast or anything else, feel free to reach out at the number. I think we'll include it below. on WhatsApp only. So no phone calls, no emails, just WhatsApp. 609-389-9276. 609-389-9276. WhatsApp only for sponsorships, for negative or positive feedback. You may even have positive feedback. Feel free to hit me up, and we will be very interested in hearing from you. Thank you.